Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling Richard Templar's The Rules of People. This was a book you asked us to explore, really, to get a better handle on, how we all interact, those unspoken rules.
Exactly, and we're not talking dry theory here. Templar stuff, it comes from just watching people, everyday life.
Right, so our mission really is to pull out the practical bits, those aha moments, to help navigate dealing with others, maybe with a bit less head-scratching.
Yeah, exactly. Templar's book, it feels like common sense once you read it, but it's stuff that's easy to miss in the moment, right?
Totally.
So we're going to dig into some key rules today, try and figure out why people do what they do, maybe get past those quick judgments.
Okay, let's dive right in then, how we see each other. It's not always simple, is it? Rule number 2 hits this straight on. No one has to be like you. And that immediately made me think about, work styles. I had this colleague once. Desk was immaculate, like sterile almost. Everything lined up.
I know the type.
Meanwhile, my desk looked like a creative explosion, let's say. And I used to get maybe a little irritated by their super rigid order. Felt like it killed flexibility, Does that ring any bells for you?
Oh, absolutely. It's such a common thing, isn't it? Thinking someone else's way is wrong just because it's different from ours.
Yeah.
But Templar's point, which is really key, is just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's wrong or ineffective.
Right.
So your tidy colleague, maybe their meticulousness felt a bit much to you, but think about the value in that. Consistency, attention to detail.
Yeah.
Maybe that was crucial for certain tasks.
That's a really good point. I hadn't quite thought of it like that. They probably brought a different, but yeah, an important strength.
Exactly. We often dismiss stuff just because it's not our preference.
Recognizing value in different approaches, even if they don't sort of gel with you personally. Okay. Rule 3. People hear what they want to hear. That feels very relevant to communication generally.
Oh, definitely. This is basically selective attention, isn't it? How our brains work. We latch onto things that confirm what we already think or want, and we filter out the rest. Templar uses the example, the teacher telling a student they're maybe not cut out for a subject.
I remember that.
The student just wants to succeed, so they focus on any scrap of positive feedback, ignore the warning signs. It's not usually conscious, just, human nature.
Right. And it's not just students, is it?
Yeah.
How often have you explained something really clearly, laid it all out, and the other person just picks out the one tiny bit that fits what they already thought?
Happens all the time.
It's a good reminder for us, too, to watch our own listening biases. Templar says clear, concise communication helps cut through that. Less wiggle room.
Exactly. Which leads nicely into rule number 4. People believe what they want to believe. This goes even deeper than just hearing things selectively. It's about our actual core beliefs. Templar talks about how our beliefs are shaped by, everything. Upbringing, experiences, friends, our identity. Facts often come second. It's like we build our own little realities.
That example he uses about politics is striking, isn't it? Giving people on opposite sides the same data.
Yeah, and they both used it to prove their point.
Exactly. The facts just became ammo to back up what they already believed, not, objective data points. What do you think drives that so strongly?
Well, what's interesting is this idea that beliefs often start with the gut feeling. Then we do this thing called motivated reasoning.
Go ahead.
We subconsciously look for stuff that confirms what we already feel. We're not usually aware we're doing it, which is why, arguing facts rarely changes someone's deep-seated beliefs.
Right.
So Templar advises, stand by your convictions, sure, but be realistic. You're probably not going to convert someone with just logic. There's that emotional core.
It's pretty humbling, really. Okay, changing gears a bit. Rule 6 is about something more instinctive. Remember your first impression. We all get those initial gut feelings, don't we?
Definitely. That instant reaction, good or bad. Templar tells that story, the employee who looked great on paper.
Yeah, qualifications, experience, everything.
But something just felt off. No real reason, just a feeling. And, it turned out to be right when the person left suddenly, unprofessionally.
So what makes those first impressions so, potent?
It's like our subconscious is rapidly processing all these tiny cues, right? Body language, tone, just the general vibe.
Yeah, you can't always put your finger on it.
But Templar says acknowledge those feelings. Don't just dismiss them. Maybe don't act on them straight away, but stay aware. Look for things that either confirm or deny that initial gut sense.
And he points out they can be positive too, right? That instant click with someone.
Exactly. That feeling of trust. Just informative. Okay, then rule 7. People are tribal. Our need to belong.
Right. We identify with groups, family, work teams, our town, our country. There's this loyalty to the tribe. And Templar says these loyalties are often, like, hierarchical. Closer bonds usually win out if there's a conflict.
Yeah.
Like your department versus the whole company, you'll probably lean towards your team.
Makes sense.
Why is that instinct so deep in us, do you think?
Well, it probably goes way back, evolutionarily speaking. Belonging to a group meant safety, resources.
Right, survival.
Yeah. So this need to identify with an in-group and sometimes be wary of the out-group, it still shapes us, even on a massive scale. Templar mentions Brexit as tribal politics, right? National identity trumping a wider European connection shows the power of that shared identity.
And that ties into Rule 8, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Everyone wants to feel valued. That feels like a basic human need driving a lot of behavior.
it really is. Templar links low self-esteem or self-worth, as he calls it, that deep feeling of not being valuable enough to all sorts of negative behaviors. Aggression, micromanaging. Everyone, no matter how confident they seem on the outside, needs to feel seen, appreciated, that what they do matters. It's core to our psychological health.
It's a good reminder that maybe that really arrogant person is just masking insecurities, craving validation.
Very possibly.
And Templar stresses that people often need to be told explicitly they're valued. A general thanks is fine, but being specific about why their contribution mattered, that makes it hit home.
Absolutely. Like, that report was brilliant. The way you broke down the data really helped us see the key trends. Much more powerful.
Yeah, makes it believable.
And when people feel genuinely valued, they're usually more engaged, more cooperative, they perform better. It's a positive loop. You value them, they contribute more. Simple but powerful.
Totally. Okay, let's shift to social cues. Rule 9. They only tease you if they like you. This one can be tricky sometimes.
It can, yeah. Teasing here means that lighthearted, affectionate poking fun, usually about minor quirks.
Right.
The key difference Templar draws is between teasing and bullying. Bullying aims to hurt, to demean. Teasing is more like a sign of acceptance, including someone in the joke.
Yeah, like gently mocking a friend who's always late. That's different from criticizing a colleague for missing a deadline.
Exactly. It's positive when everyone gets that it's coming from a place of affection.
But then, Rule 10 clarifies. But banter isn't teasing. That's where the confusion comes in.
Yeah. Templar uses banter for stuff that, even if not meant maliciously, actually upsets the other person.
That gray area. One person thinks it's funny, the other feels hurt.
Precisely. The impact matters more than the intent. Even if the banterer thinks it's harmless, if the recipient consistently feels bad, it's crossed a line. It's a reminder to really watch the other person's reaction.
Definitely. Okay, now a universal one. Rule 11. Everyone else is insecure too. It's easy to assume others are just brimming with confidence.
It is. But Templar says, look, nobody's immune. Even people who seem really confident likely feel nervous or insecure sometimes. Public speaking is a classic example, but it could be anything. Social events, trying something new. The triggers differ, but that underlying feeling, it's pretty widespread.
It's kind of comforting, actually. Knowing even those super composed people probably have their own anxieties hidden away.
Right. We're all just products of our experiences. No one gets a free pass from self-doubt.
And understanding that can lead to more empathy, which links to Rule 12. Other people are enough. This is about acceptance.
Yeah, accepting others and ourselves too, really.
Templar emphasizes that people are shaped by this mix of genes and life experiences, right?
Exactly. Which means there are limits to how much they can control their reactions or tendencies. Trying to fundamentally change someone, your boss, your kid, your partner, it's usually just frustrating for everyone.
So the message is, accept them.
Pretty much. Recognize people for who they are, flaws and all. If a relationship depends on someone totally changing their core personality, Templar suggests it's probably not going to work out. Real change comes from within.
Which brings us to Rule 14. Angry people are sad people. A different lens for looking at negative emotions.
It is. Templar suggests anger often acts like a cover for more vulnerable stuff underneath, like fear or hurt or shame. It can be a way to try and feel powerful when you actually feel helpless. He also mentions how, especially for men maybe, who are often taught not to show sadness.
Right. Boys don't cry.
Yeah. Anger becomes the more acceptable outlet for those deeper feelings.
So that outburst might not really be about you, understanding there's likely something else driving it.
Yeah.
That can help you react differently, right?
Sure.
With more understanding, even if the behavior itself isn't okay.
Precisely. It shifts the focus. And then Rule 16, Thoughtlessness is not malicious. A reminder to look for simpler explanations.
Oh, I liked his anecdote about the birthday cake. For someone gluten intolerant.
He just completely forgot.
Yeah. It was just thoughtless, not intentionally mean.
Yeah.
So often what feels like a deliberate slight is just someone not thinking it through. It's a much less upsetting explanation than assuming bad intention.
It really is. And Rule 23 builds on this. If you ignore the context, it's much harder to understand why people behave as they do.
This feels crucial. Look at the bigger picture. What else is going on in their life? Stresses, fears, worries.
Exactly. Templar gives examples of how perspectives change with age, right? A young grad versus a seasoned pro on long hours or starting a business.
Yeah.
Considering the context can totally change how you see someone's behavior. What seems unreasonable in isolation might make perfect sense given everything else they're juggling.
Okay, let's switch to how our behavior affects others. Rule 24. They'll shout if you do. Very relevant for parents or leaders.
Definitely. Templar tells that story about the friend asking how to get kids to do as I say, not as I do. It highlights that basic truth.
Yeah.
People, especially kids, learn by watching. If you want them to be tidy or polite or respectful, you need to model it consistently. You can't yell and expect calm back.
It's about being the example.
Yeah.
And not just with kids, right? If you lead a team, your style, your attitude, it sets the tone.
Absolutely. And Rule 25 follows that. Responsibility creates independence, fostering autonomy.
Templar argues against, like overprotecting kids or always making decisions for them. It feels caring, maybe, but it can stop them developing essential life skills. He talks about that parent wanting their kid to skip a gap year because they weren't ready.
Yeah, suggesting maybe the parent hadn't given them enough chances to get ready.
Exactly. It's about letting them take ownership, learn from mistakes, even small ones. That's how they build skills and confidence.
Gradually empowering them.
Okay, communication. The big one? Rules 27 and 28 are like two sides of a coin. First, talking is what matters.
Right. Especially with teenagers finding their feet, becoming more independent, but still needing that parental safety net. Templar says the crucial thing is they need to know, like really know, you'll be there for them if they mess up or need help, no matter what.
He contrasts those different parental reactions to drug experimentation.
Yeah. The angry, punishing parent probably shuts down future conversations.
Right. Build a wall.
Whereas the parent who talks openly, non-judgmentally, they keep that door open. They build trust. It's about keeping communication lines open, even when it's tough.
And then the other side, Rule 28. Listening is what matters. Not just talking, but really hearing.
Yes. It's not enough just to state your view. To really understand someone, you need active, empathetic listening.
Templar reminds us, your kid or anyone is their own person. Their feelings might not make sense to you, but that doesn't make them invalid.
Exactly. The burden is on the listener to try harder to get their perspective. Really pay attention, absorb what they're saying. Don't just plan your reply. That's key for building trust.
That third parent in the drug story.
Perfect example. By listening, the parent understood the kid had already learned their lesson. No punishment needed. Listening leads to real understanding.
Okay, let's get into some trickier interaction stuff. Rule 29. No one likes saying sorry.
So true. Oh, it really is. Apologizing feels vulnerable, like admitting defeat. People hate it, especially mid-argument. Templar tells that story of the friends who just stopped talking for months.
Yeah, because neither would say sorry first.
And what actually fixes things isn't always the word sorry. It's showing regret, taking responsibility through actions.
He's not keen on forced apologies either, is he? Especially with kids.
No. It's about helping them feel remorse, not just parrot words. So sometimes, in conflicts, letting someone show regret through actions without demanding a possibly humiliating apology works better, helps them save face.
Makes sense. Okay, Rule 31. Some weirdos are great people, challenging our tendency to stick with the familiar.
Yes, we naturally gravitate to people we get easily. But Templar says step outside that box, engage with people who seem a bit different, unconventional.
Weirdos, yeah.
They often have the most unique insights, surprising skills, real kindness. If we only talk to people like us, we miss out on so much, broadening our own view.
What is it about people who are different that's so valuable?
Well, often because they haven't fit neatly in, they've developed a unique way of seeing things. Maybe overcome different hurdles, embrace different values. Leads to fascinating perspectives, a richer understanding of just how varied people are.
So don't shy away, get their story. Okay, now, looking inward before helping others. Rule 32. Put your oxygen mask on first.
Crucial self-care reminder, that airplane analogy. You need to be emotionally stable yourself before you can effectively help someone else.
Especially with stuff that might trigger your own issues, right? Like grief or divorce.
Exactly. Trying to help when you're running on empty doesn't work. Can even make things worse for everyone.
Know your limits, be in a good place first. Which leads to Rule 33. Get in the swamp. Evocative phrase.
It is. But the idea is vital for emotional support. Someone tells you their problems. What's the first instinct?
Jump in with solutions. Fix it.
Right. But often, Templar says that's not what they need. They might feel dismissed or more frustrated, and the helper is left wondering why. Why do we jump to solutions?
I guess you want to help, take away the pain.
Probably. But sometimes they just need to feel heard, understood, not fixed.
So how do we get in the swamp?
Templar says, validation. Give them permission to feel whatever they're feeling. No judgment. Emotions aren't always logical. Rushing to solutions can invalidate their experience.
So before advice, just acknowledge.
Yeah, simple phrases. I get why you're angry. That sounds really tough. Stuff like that. It's incredibly powerful. Makes them feel heard. Then often they can start processing it themselves. Maybe even find their own solutions.
Wow. Such a simple but profound shift.
Well,
Acknowledge the emotion first. Okay, Rule 36, know your limitations. Healthy boundaries.
it is. Templar talks about overcommitting to helping with school runs.
Yeah, and end up stressing them out.
Exactly. It's about being honest about what you can realistically do without stretching yourself too thin, maybe getting resentful later. It's okay to say no or suggest a different way to help that works for you too.
And Rule 37, it's not a competition. Something we could all remember sometimes.
Definitely. Someone shares a struggle. The urge to compare, say, oh, you think that's bad.
Yeah, rarely helpful.
It usually just minimizes their experience,
Yeah.
makes them feel their problems aren't valid. Templar says people know everyone has challenges. They usually just need support, not a comparison of who's got it worse.
Good point. Then Rule 38, never give advice. That sounds wrong. Isn't helping sometimes about giving guidance?
Templar argues direct advice often isn't that helpful, for a few reasons. One, you never know their full situation. What worked for you might be terrible for them.
Okay.
Two, people are more invested in solutions they figure out themselves. Giving advice can kind of steal that opportunity from them, takes away their agency.
So if not advice, then what?
Ask questions. Templar suggests thoughtful questions. Guide them to explore options, weigh consequences, reach their own conclusions.
Like, what have you thought about trying? Or what might happen if you did that?
Exactly. Facilitate their thinking, don't just give them answers. Empowers them.
That makes a lot of sense, fostering their problem solving. And Rule 39 follows that. Accept their decision, respecting autonomy.
Yeah. Even if you strongly disagree with their choice, after you've supported them, help them think it through. Templar says ultimately accept it. It's their life. Their well-being depends on feeling in control.
Even if you think they're heading for disaster.
Well, as Templar puts it, at least they're behind the wheel. That sense of control, of agency, is often more important for their well-being than avoiding every single mistake.
And Rule 40 reinforces this. Give them control.
Yeah. Ties back to that anxiety people feel when they're constantly told what to do. Especially relevant with teenagers, maybe. Needing independence. Giving people choices, even small ones, reduces anxiety, builds autonomy.
So how do we best help them make good decisions then? Rule 41, get them to think for themselves.
Back to asking those good questions. Help them look at the problem from different angles. Consider options, weigh pros and cons themselves. Guide their process. Don't lead them to your answer.
Right. Empowers them, builds their skills, makes them own the outcome.
Exactly, because it came from their reasoning.
Okay, let's get into some more subtle communication stuff. Rule 42, learn to be psychic. Sounds fun.
Yeah, he uses it playfully, but it means sometimes people expect you to just know what's bothering them, even if they deny it.
They drop hints.
Yeah.
Act weird.
Exactly. But if you ask directly, they might say, nothing's wrong. It's about tuning into those nonverbal cues, the subtext.
That story about the friend's mother worried about childcare.
Yeah, she kept denying it, but clearly something was up. The friend had to watch closely, ask indirect questions to figure out the real, unstated concern. You got to read between the lines sometimes.
Develop that awareness of what's not being said. And Rule 43 builds on that. Listen to what they don't say. Recognizing patterns.
Templar talks about the yes, but pattern.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
You suggest something, they always have a reason why it won't work. Yes, but Often, Templar says, it masks something deeper. Maybe they don't really want to change, or they're scared, or avoiding responsibility.
So once you spot that pattern,
Stop offering solutions they'll just shoot down. Turn it back on them. Ask, okay, so what do you think you should do? That gentle nudge can make them face their own reluctance.
interesting tactic. Okay, navigating difficult emotions in others. Rule 45. Don't tell people to move on. Seems like common, but maybe bad advice.
It often is. Well-meaning, maybe, but telling someone to move on can feel really invalidating. It ignores the reasons they might be stuck.
Like, maybe staying unhappy feels safer somehow, or they feel guilty if they do move on too quickly.
Exactly. There can be complex reasons. Simply telling them to snap out of it rarely helps. Can make them feel misunderstood, like their feelings aren't okay.
Yeah, it can make them feel isolated too, like they're failing somehow. Better to just offer support, acknowledge the pain, right? Without rushing them.
Exactly. And Rule 46 broadens our view of a related feeling. Loneliness is a state of mind.
Meaning, it's not just about being physically alone.
Right. You can be surrounded by people, family, friends, and still feel deeply lonely, disconnected. It's an internal feeling, not just about external circumstances.
Recognizing that helps us be more aware, maybe more empathetic to people who might seem connected but are actually struggling inside.
For sure. And Rule 47 offers a nice counterpoint to the idea that we always have to talk about feelings. It's okay just not to talk.
So constant emotional sharing isn't always the goal.
No. While talking can be healthy, sometimes people just need space. They need the quiet understanding that they won't be pushed to talk before they're ready. Respecting that silence can be really supportive.
Good point. Okay, let's talk about positive impact. Small gestures. Rule 48. A smile costs nothing. Simple, but true.
Yet it can have this ripple effect, can it? A genuine smile, a friendly hello. It can just lift someone's day a tiny bit.
And it feels good for the giver, too, usually. Creates that little moment of connection.
Yeah, a reminder that small acts of goodwill matter. They add up. But Rule 49 adds a note of caution about helping. Not everyone wants help.
Right. Just because you think they need help or you can help.
Doesn't mean you should jump in. Respect their autonomy, their perspective. They might have reasons for doing things their way, or just not be open to help right then. Unsolicited help can feel undermining, even critical.
Need to be mindful of boundaries. Make sure help is actually wanted. Okay, building strong relationships. Rule 51. Loyalty is a two-way street. Seems foundational.
Absolutely. To get loyalty, you have to give loyalty. Templar lists ways. Don't gossip about them. Stand up for them, support them, respect their views, even if you disagree. Listen properly. Remember details about them.
It's about showing you value the relationship they can trust you.
Exactly. Creating that mutual trust and respect. And Rule 52 really hammers home the impact of just remember them. Yes. Making that effort to recall details, names, hobbies, what's going on in their lives, even small things. It makes people feel incredibly valued.
Templar tells that story about the actor remembering him years later.
Yeah. Shows how much impact that recognition can have, especially coming from someone maybe seen as more influential.
He even suggests taking notes to help remember details later. It shows you were really listening, that they matter enough to remember. Powerful stuff.
Totally. And then Rule 53, praise them properly. Not just praise, but how you do it.
Right. Templar differentiates between, like, empty flattery and real, specific praise.
Exactly. The key is being detailed. What exactly are you praising? And what was the positive impact? Not just well done, but the way you handled that tricky client, your calm approach really saved the situation, makes it feel real, much more meaningful.
Shows you actually noticed their effort and the specific value.
Yeah.
But Rule 54 warns, keep your praise in proportion.
Yeah. Too much praise, over-the-top stuff can feel fake or just awkward. Templar suggests sometimes a simple, direct thank you with specifics is better than gushing. Find the right level.
And Rule 55 offers a surprisingly simple tip for smoother interactions. If you like them, it helps.
Seems obvious, right? But he explains that self-fulfilling prophecy thing. If you genuinely feel positive towards someone, it shows. You're more approachable. They feel it, respond better, want to keep things good between you.
So even with difficult people, try to find something to appreciate. Start with empathy, maybe.
Yeah. It can shift the whole dynamic, break those negative cycles. And Rule 56 is about earning respect, earn their respect, not something you can demand.
No. Templar says it comes from three things.
Yeah. 1, be good at what you do the tasks and how you interact. 2, Have quiet confidence, know your stuff without needing constant reassurance. 3, act with integrity. Always.
He tells that story about the leader admitting a mistake.
Yeah, showed humility, honesty, that earned massive respect. Vulnerability can build trust.
So, competence, confidence, integrity. Okay, managing annoying behaviors, Rule 59, letting off the hook.
This is about choosing your battles, isn't it? Accepting that some people just have annoying habits and deciding not to constantly fight it or wish they'd change.
Focus on your reaction, not trying to control them.
Exactly. Getting wound up by their minor stuff only hurts you, strains the relationship. Find a way to live with it.
Let it go.
Mm.
Okay, Rule 60, be a chameleon.
Not about being fake, though. It's more about subtly adapting your style, formality, language, vibe to match who you're with.
To make them feel more comfortable, build rapport.
Yeah. Small adjustments can create connection without changing who you are. Just being tuned into the social cues.
Right, fostering smoother interactions. Okay, persuasion, Rule 61. People generally agree with themselves. Insightful.
It is. Templar's strategy is subtle. Guide people to your view by building on their ideas. Make them feel they own the conclusion.
So take something they said and develop it towards your goal, but let them feel like they're still driving.
Exactly. More collaborative, less confrontational. Which fits with Rule 62. Don't tell them they're wrong, even if they are. Golden rule for disagreements.
Seems like it. Telling someone they're flat out wrong just makes them defensive, right?
Almost always. So instead, Templar says, offer alternatives. Gently guide them. Give them a way to shift their view without losing face. Frame counterpoints softly. Offer options.
More diplomatic. Saves face. Okay, teamwork. Rule 64. Let them sort themselves out.
In a team context, yeah. Set the overall goals, then trust the team to figure out the best way to work together. People often naturally find roles that suit their skills. If they're motivated, they'll often find the most efficient way.
Foster autonomy. Trust the process. And Rule 65, especially for leaders. Be human.
Yeah, don't try to seem perfect or all-powerful. Showing vulnerability, admitting mistakes, being relatable, that actually builds more trust, makes you more approachable.
People connect with authenticity. See the human side.
Definitely. It's about balancing competence with connection. And Rule 67 circles back to appreciation. Say thank you properly, more than just politeness.
Kepler stresses being specific about what you value.
Right.
And tailoring it.
Exactly. Tailor it to them. Public praise, private thanks, a small gift, words. Figure out what resonates. A thoughtful, personalized thank you means so much more.
Shows you really saw their contribution. Okay, avoiding conflict. Rule 69. Don't always offer the other perspective. Seems odd for balanced discussion.
Templar clarifies, constantly playing devil's advocate, even trying to be objective, can feel like criticism to the other person, like you're invalidating their point.
That anecdote about his mother in the post office queue.
Yeah. He tried to offer the other side. It just started an argument. Sometimes just agreeing or a neutral nod is way more constructive.
Be sensitive to context. Know when balance might backfire. Okay, negotiation strategies. Rule 71 starts it off. Everyone wants to win. Simple, really. Sets a collaborative tone.
Exactly. Negotiation isn't zero-sum, win-lose. It's about finding that win-win outcome, where everyone feels they got something valuable. That's key for lasting agreements, good relationships.
Find common ground. Meet needs. Rule 73. Make it three-dimensional.
This means look beyond the main sticking point, like just price. Introduce other variables, timelines, features, extra support.
Okay.
Having multiple things to trade creates more chances for give and take, small wins for both sides. The kid's bedtime example, right? Trading time for stories or weekend privileges.
Right, look for flexibility in different areas. And 74 is crucial. Give and take.
Absolutely. For them to feel good, they need to feel they gain something too. So you can't just expect to take, be ready to offer concessions. Templar likes the yes-if framework.
Yes, I can agree to that price if you guarantee the delivery date.
Exactly. Makes the exchange clear, feels fair, reinforces that it's mutual.
Okay. Rule 76. Get all their cards on the table. Transparency. Avoid surprises.
Yeah. Before you think you're done, Templar says explicitly ask, is there anything else we need to discuss?
Smart. Stops them adding new demands right at the end.
Gets everything out in the open early so you can deal with it all. Full picture.
Makes sense. And 77. Give him a get out. Subtle but powerful for keeping things smooth.
Yes. People hate feeling like they totally lost. Giving them But a face-saving way to concede helps reach agreement while keeping goodwill.
Like the kid agreeing to bedtime, but still gets a story. They compromise without feeling defeated.
Exactly. Understand the psychology. Let them feel good about the outcome. And finally, Rule 78. Never be scared when negotiating.
Even if you really need the deal.
Yeah. Letting them sense your fear puts you at a disadvantage. Templar says stay calm, prepared, show you want a good deal, but you're confident enough to walk away if it's not right. Project confidence, even if you're nervous inside, don't let anxiety undermine you.
Hold your ground. Okay. Now, dealing with difficult personalities. Templar's clear. You can't change them, but you can change your response. Rule 80 starts there. There's only one person you can change.
Reinforces that theme of acceptance. Focus on what you control. Trying to force personality change. Waste of energy. Better to understand their patterns, adjust your reactions to protect yourself, and make interactions manageable.
And 81 suggests it's scary being controlled. An insight into their motivation.
Yeah. Some difficult behavior might come from a deep fear of losing control. Seeing that anxiety can help you approach them with more empathy, maybe find ways to give them some sense of agency.
82. If they feel small, they'll big themselves up. Belittling others linked to insecurity.
Exactly. People who constantly put others down or boast, often compensating for feeling inadequate, knowing that helps you not take it personally. Maybe respond in ways that don't feed that need for validation.
83. Shouty people want to be heard. A different angle on aggression.
Templar says yelling is often a last resort for people feeling ignored. So counterintuitively, actively listening, showing you hear them, can actually de-escalate things, diffuses their need to shout.
84 offers a surprise. Negative people can't half be useful.
Yeah. While constant negativity is draining, Templar notes that pessimists can sometimes spot real problems, test ideas rigorously, be a useful reality check. But their feedback needs to be specific, constructive, not just whining.
85. Control freaks know they're right. Highlights their conviction.
They genuinely believe their way is the only way, often driven by insecurity, needing to feel in charge. Directly challenging them usually backfires.
86 warns. Blackmailers want to control you. Defines that manipulation.
Emotional blackmail uses your feelings, guilt, fear to make you do things, Templar says. Set clear boundaries. Refuse to be manipulated by their emotions or threats. Don't take responsibility for how they feel.
87. Jealousy isn't rational. Different from envy, rooted in emotion.
Yeah, jealousy is fear of loss, often linked to insecurity. Reassurance might help sometimes, but Templar stresses setting firm boundaries against controlling behavior that stems from it.
88. Prejudice comes from ignorance. Understanding the root.
It's not logical. Best challenged by real experience, exposure to difference, not direct argument which can backfire. Templar advises, don't feed prejudiced beliefs.
89. Martyrs need applause. The motivation behind the complaints.
They seek validation through talking about their sacrifices, hinting for praise. Templar suggests, don't reinforce it by giving unearned applause just because they complain.
91 notes. Patronizing can be accidental, not always malicious.
Often stems from the patronizer's own insecurity or a clumsy attempt to help. Templar suggests either gently questioning the remarks or just consistently showing your competence to shift their perception.
92 is stark. You can't beat a true narcissist, a challenging personality.
Narcissists lack empathy, inflated self-importance, focused on themselves. Templar says, don't argue. Strategically feed the ego if you need cooperation. Protect yourself, especially from clinical narcissism. Set strong boundaries.
93. Moaners don't want to change.
Yeah.
The persistence of complaining.
It can be learned behavior. Maybe negativity got attention in the past. Templar advises, set boundaries on excessive moaning. Don't take it personally.
95. Manipulators are clever, acknowledging their skill.
They're good at spotting vulnerabilities, using tactics, Templar says. Learn to say no confidently without over-justifying. Avoid them if you can.
And finally, 96 offers a practical tip. Give them a project. Redirecting energy.
Yeah, channel that intense energy into something specific, constructive, can be a useful outlet, potentially diverts them from more difficult behaviors.
Wow. We have covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
So many of Templar's rules from the rules of people. But if you boil it all down, the core message seems to be about understanding those hidden motivations, right? The perspectives driving behavior.
Exactly. Recognizing everyone comes with their own history, their own insecurities, their own way of seeing things. That's fundamental for interacting better with more empathy.
Hopefully this deep dive is giving you all some useful insights, practical tools maybe, to understand relationships better, navigate things with more clarity, maybe less frustration.
Yeah,
Maybe take a moment, think about which rules really struck a chord with you. Any recent interactions that suddenly make a bit more sense now?
Templar calls them rules, but maybe think of them as invitations. Invitations to be more curious about people, about the complex, sometimes surprising ways we all operate.
That's a great way to put it.
What might change in your day-to-day interactions if you approached people with that curiosity, that genuine wish to understand their perspective? It's definitely something to think about.